Okay, now we're recording. Are we ready?
Yes.
Bros knows episode.
This should say our company, by the way.
It doesn't though. It says your cousin's company.
Yeah, but someday.
There's no free ads on this. But Bros knows episode 71. The follow up, the eject. Well, this isn't free. Trust me. This has been time and effort and energy. The eject episode that I talked about on Wednesday. So on Wednesday's podcast, I talked about like my experience with eject and how I got involved with eject and what it is to me and why I wanted to do it. But now I have the two brilliant minds behind the game. I have the two dudes that made it happen on here with me. And normally when these guys come on, we do a hot takes episode. But today we're just talking eject only. Is that okay?
Yes, because my hot take is one that Tyler disagrees with, but at some point I want to talk to him about it.
Is it about the game?
No, it's something completely different about Gonzaga basketball that we're going to discuss at some point because I value Tyler's opinion on GU hoops. I will let you know before we recorded this, I went too hard in the paint with T on the game.
Yeah.
And I feel bad about it, T. So love you. Love this game.
We just had a 2.5 hour meeting about the game. That was the most aggressive meeting we've had so far, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
By far. Like, I was worried for a few minutes about you guys being at each other's throats. I was glad it wasn't in person.
Team, that was healthy conversation. We gained a lot of feedback, and we're in a better spot than we were 2.5 hours ago.
You know what's the good news? We're all in. It proves that every one of us is invested in this game right here. You can see on the video, eject.
And so let's start at the very beginning of eject. Put that Cream 11 card down. We'll get to that. That's going to be revealed here, I think. But how did eject start? Because it was you two to begin with. I didn't get brought until way later. But so you guys just wanted to make a game, or what happened here?
So Tyler and I both always wanted to make games, right? We both always wanted to make games.
So Sean and I have always wanted to make games. Sean and I's friendship is newer as far as time. So I think the last 3 years, I'd say we've gotten way closer. We knew each other prior to that, but up until that point, I've always wanted to make a game. I've always wanted to create something that people can play, that have a ton of fun. And I just enjoy playing games with friends. Like, that's just what I love. I love to do that. It can be competitive. It doesn't have to be competitive. It can be for drinks, which I'm always for. I've told that's a flaw of mine. I always try to incorporate like loser takes shots. But
you broke one of our best friends' TVs because of it.
Doing stuff with friends. That's what it's all about.
That's what it's all about. And so that's kind of that's like our foundation. I say we both have that. And then what kind of jumped it for me, we talked about this like off the podcast a while ago, was writing it down and saying, this is what we want to do. And so our son was born in July and I was going on paternity leave, Washington State, shout out. And so I had 3 months off and I literally wrote this down and I told my student employees, I was like, I'm creating a game this break. I go, when I'm gone for 3 months, one of my goals outside of being a dad, great dad, number one, number two is I want to create a game. And I was like, I knew Sean was going to be the first person I asked. And so that's kind of how it started. I was like, Sean, I want to do it. And he's like, yeah. And then it just kind of like snowballed from there. And then Sean, I don't know if you want to add anything to that, the intro part of that.
I've said it and I will always say it until I die. Because I'm really excited about the fact we made a game. I never in my life would have made a game that I'm currently holding in my hand if it wasn't for Tyler Seth.
Yeah.
That's without a doubt a fact. I have made 1 million games in my life. I've made 1 million games. I've made games drawn on paper, printed them out because I have a printer here at my house. You guys know that. And so I've like made games with cards. I've made games always. And my family's played them. We've done them at gatherings, but they've never been, some of them were actually good, but there was never a chance of me creating it. It was always just going to exist inside the walls of my house. And that was it. And Tyler was the catapult. He's the catapult of like you said, he wrote it down. Brandon, he motivated us to write down other things in our lives that we want to accomplish and say, write it down. Let's make it out. Let's happen out loud. And there's a contagiousness that goes, well, we have to do it now. Like
Yeah.
T's in. We
And
have to do it.
There's a responsibility to others too. And like what Tyler said, what he told the students, the same way that we started telling people, and it made it more real. It made it a bigger commitment and stuff like that. And I talked about it on Wednesday's episode, that my big thing was I just wanted to be part of something with you guys. I didn't have this dream to make a game, but the game is the cool thing that we got to make. And it's like this vessel for creativity and to do stuff with you guys and doing stuff with friends. And I love it for that reason. So it's super fun for me to sit here and watch how excited you guys still are, because that's what's like made me excited this whole process.
I will let you know, I was excited to make the game. When Tyler got it going, the pressure ratchets up. Like it ratcheted the pressure up a lot to create something that's even better, which is great because I'm really happy with where we're at with this game that people are going to get to play, as opposed to where we started, where we were just like, this is a fun game, let's just throw it out there. And now it's like, it's something that I'm very proud of.
Super proud. I'm like incredibly proud. It's weird. Am I too proud? I'm so incredibly proud. It's weird almost.
Go ahead. Tell him, Tyler, what he is. Tell him what he is, Tyler.
Yeah. Sean and I are huge fans of the Bros Knows podcast, and those who listen to Wednesday, it was the nicest thing I've ever heard. But let's also keep in mind that it wasn't the complete truth. All right. No. Brandon, now you guys are happy about the game. My biggest thing that I'm most proud of is recruiting Brandon. Like asking Sean, I'd met Brandon one time, followed him on Instagram, saw how talented he was, heard how Sean described Brandon, and I was like, okay, I don't know this person, but I want to create a game with this individual because Sean and I, we have strengths, but we also have a lot of deficiencies. And one of those is making the graphics, right? Like, and like the photos, like we don't have that. And so that's probably my biggest, I'd say one of the biggest accomplishments is like Sean and I working together. I could have foreseen that when I first met him.
Yeah.
But recruiting Brandon to the team and having him want to be a part of it and have most of the skill set, it's like, yeah, I helped maybe like get the ball rolling. But the MVP, at least to this point in time, is hands down Brandon. Like,
no way.
This game, this game is not here. We don't have
as he holds up the Cream 11.
We don't have the Cream 11s without B Rose.
So I'm a big Brandon fan. Probably maybe overly documented to the point of it being weird, but I just am because I love your creativity and you know that, Brandon. So I remember when Tyler and I sat down in end of September, beginning of October for the first time talking about making the game. And I remember in my head thinking, man, this would be something, it would be fun to have Brandon in, but I'm not going to force one of my friends into a situation with T. Like, that's just not what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And T brought it up. He goes, he goes, I got an idea. I remember him laying it out, like he laid it out so delicately. Remember that? Because you're like,
selling you. I thought I had to sell you.
I know it'd be a third person involved with this. Like, it was such a soft sell. And he said your name, and I was like, no, that's what we should have done from day one. I just didn't want to like throw another friend. And Tyler was like so excited. And then he goes, do you think he'll do it? I thought, yeah, he's gonna say yes.
Yeah, I'll say yes to anything, but I'm definitely happy I said yes to this. And I don't know what got me there, but I'm pumped it did because I've had a great time doing it. I'm excited. So thank you guys for bringing me into it.
Your podcast was uncomfortable on Wednesday because
yes.
I will say, I think Tyler and I have done a lot of work with the game, and I think we have, and I think our brains are wired to do this kind of stuff. Like, I don't want to undersell Tyler's potential at like making future games and stuff, but Brandon, like, I cried at my house last Friday night. I'll cry right now. Like, I've wanted to make a game forever, and you made it. Like, you made the cards, and like they are real, and that was all you. And so when you talk,
that's not all me. That is not all me.
This is like, he was pretty involved. Tyler is a research king. I've learned
version one of our cards were very different from that. Those cards don't look like that without your guys' absolute input on everything. Down to the color of the spools on the cassettes.
Well, now that we've patted each other on the back.
Yeah, this is uncomfortable. Now it feels like I brought you on the podcast just to hype me up. I don't like that. I don't like compliments. You know that.
No, how do you think we felt? You did a whole freaking podcast complimenting us.
Well,
I'm listening to it. I'm listening to it in my kitchen, and Mikhail's like, "That's a nice." I didn't even say anything that nice to you. We've been married for almost 5 years. I was like, I know. I might just divorce. I'm marrying Brandon. This is messed up.
Yep. Brandon's moving in.
I didn't tell you guys to listen to the podcast. That's on you.
Loyal listeners. We're day one. We don't miss.
I know. Well, I don't know. I just appreciate it, and it's been like a really fun project. When did we start this? I was trying to think back of when did you guys start? When did I come into the mix?
We started in September, beginning of October, right when T was starting paternity.
Was that when I came in also?
Yeah, you were like the next week. So I pitched it to Sean a couple times, and it was kind of like in passing. And I was like, okay, I need to just I put it on a calendar. Actually, that's what I did. The first thing, I sent him a calendar invite.
Yeah.
Oh man,
2 months in advance. So I actually sent it in August, and I said, Sean, when I go on paternity leave, we're meeting to do a game because that's all I've always wanted to do. And he accepted it. And that's kind of what started. It wasn't a formal calendar invite.
I love
that. 2
that.
months, we would get together with our families and go on these neighborhood walks because it was still at that time where not everyone was it was just still really weird. So it was just neighborhood walks. And we would sit there and talk about the game, but it wasn't anything official. Knowing that in 2 months we had this dreaded, which I hate, a date on a calendar, which stressed me out. So we just
Dates
talked
are the
about it
worst.
on these walks for 2 months. And then that's when, we started officially and you got involved. And now we've got a box with cards in it.
It's so cool. It's so cool 5 or 6 months later, whatever it is. But Tyler deserves the ultimate shout out for keeping us on track because you and I are great with ideas. And I said this on Wednesday. You and I are great with ideas. Those ideas fizzle out so fast. Those ideas are gone. And we have an idea to do an Iditarod podcast. I think we've already both forgot about it.
I had forgotten about it until you just said that.
Exactly. And so T gets a lot of credit for keeping for keeping us on it when I wasn't making cards or something like that. When he would text me and be like, "Hey, do you need help with this?" And he would do it in such a casual way that it's like, I know I need to get to that, but he's offering to help me, so I need to get to it right now is what I need to do.
Yeah.
So fun fact. The reason I have been with this on this project is feedback that I've gotten from people that I oversee, like my employees, is that my tendency is to be very creative and come up with ideas, but follow through is an area that I need to grow in.
Well, you're growing.
So my objective. So I wrote this down as well. My whole purpose is to be the follow through for this project as far as it goes. So if that's the random text, hey Brandon, do you need help with the website? Yeah, I think I kept doing the website. I can upload the templates for the website. And
Yep.
I'll do it. But that's funny. I'm working on that. But we are all 3 peas in a pod as far as a ton of ideas and follow through maybe not being a huge strength.
Well, it's been clutch with you on this one. I can tell you that because that's what kept me going at least. So what is Eject? Can you guys describe Eject? Because until we had the actual prototype, I had played one time with you guys and that was it. I didn't really and I was embarrassed to tell people I made a game because they would go, "Oh, what is it?" And I was like, "Well, you see, I don't actually know. I don't know the rules. I don't know how to play it. So let me have my friends explain it to you." But will you just describe, how do we describe Eject to people? What's the words I should use when people ask me, what is Eject? And I know how to play now, but I don't know that I know how to describe it as well as you guys do.
T's got it because T did all the research. Tyler listened to 50 billion hours of podcasts and came up with the style of card game it is. And ever since he said it to me the other day, it's the only way I describe it to people.
Same with me.
So Tyler, it is a what kind of game?
It's a card shedding game.
I love that phrase. I love that phrase.
So yeah, that's the functionality of the card game is to shed your cards that are given to you at the beginning of the game. And so Eject is sweet because a lot of games that you play that are card shedding, Uno, Skip Bo, you see all your cards. You know what they are. With our game, with Eject, there are hidden cards that you don't know. And that is part of the risk. You risk it for the biscuit, as I like to say, to flip those hidden cards. And it might pan out or you might get the pile. And that's part of the appeal is you don't know what you got.
It's one of my favorite parts of the game. Mm-hmm. It's when somebody's flipping over that card. It's one of my favorite parts of the game. And so that's what it is. The other question I get a lot is it music based?
It's funny because the game is Eject because we didn't want to call it Suck It.
That's
Am I allowed
right.
to say that?
Yeah, you can say whatever.
So the game is called Eject because we didn't want to call it Suck It. And we needed a phrase that you say when you clear cards off the table, when you're getting rid of cards, when you're shedding cards away from the world that we're playing the game in. And Eject was a fun one. And we like, well, we can do Eject and we can make it based around like the cards can be cassette tape looking. It'll look cool when they're spread out on the table. It'll have good appeal. And so we made it with tape deck theme, but I'm with you. People see it and they're like, oh my gosh, did you make a name that tune card game?
Yeah.
That's far away from possible.
Right. And not at all. It's a game that everyone can play. You don't have to have music knowledge or anything like that.
None.
You just have to learn these simple rules that we have and you can play it with anybody. But it does have the cool, I like the look of the cards. I like the cassette tapes that we came up with. And it was funny the first night because when I came over, you guys were doing it like a sales pitch to get me involved. When I was already like completely in, like when Sean asked me, I was like, yeah, I'm in. And then he's like, okay, Tyler has a pitch for you. I was like, I just said I'm in. And then I came over and you had a whole PowerPoint ready. And after the PowerPoint, we're like, okay, what do we call it? And we went through just saying random words as we moved piles of cards around until we finally got there. And there was some really bad ones. There were some really funny ones. There were some really inappropriate ones until we finally got to the word eject and that whole theme of cassette tapes and nostalgia and the 90s and the 80s and all those, the different colors we wanted to do and everything.
That was a pivotal moment of coming up with the theme. Yep. Because I remember when we said it and then we talked about like the cassette player and Sean literally lit up. Like yep. He lit up and he went to a place that Brandon and I don't know because we weren't born, but right. Sean went there. Sean went there and we like, I could see it. And like, I was like, oh my God, I love this. And I don't even know how to open. I don't even know. Like when we got this the other day, Brandon brought over like a cassette case. I couldn't open it for the longest time. And I finally figured it out. It took me.
I cut myself on the first one.
So, no one who is listening to this podcast is going to understand this except for me and maybe Ian. Shout out Ian, loyal listeners. The cassette case thing. I got to witness, and if you're older like me, I got to witness 3 people. I got to witness Tyler, Brandon, and my wife all try to deal with a cassette tape. Tyler didn't know how to open one. Didn't know how to open it. A cassette tape. Just the case, didn't know how to open it. Brandon cut himself. My wife couldn't figure out how to get the cards into, because we were going to maybe put the cards in the case. She didn't understand the concept of how you put stuff into it. And I realized, oh no, I am so old in this group because no one here grew up like I did with a huge stack of cassette tapes next to a tape player by their bed. And it was a real funny moment watching a bunch of you youngsters trying to figure out a cassette tape.
Well, I mean, we got there in the end. We got where we needed to get to in the end, which is a bunch of cards on a table spread out that look like cassette tapes, but they actually have nothing to do with cassette tapes.
Real quick, the number 2 thing I'm hearing about the game. Is it a music game? Is it first question. The third thing I hear is, hey, we really enjoyed it. The second thing I hear.
Okay. I was like, wait, what happened right there?
Forever will be brutal. We named the decks. So we have 3 cassette tapes and the creators of the game all got to create a deck. No one understands Brandon's because I've played it with older people and very young kids. And Brandon's deck is called Darty Season 2.0. I actually don't know what it means. I just assumed I'm a cassette person. What is Darty Season?
A Darty's a day party. So it's like the tape you would put in if you have people over and you're out in the backyard barbecuing and having a good day.
Made me feel cool. Mine is Peaceful Valley Jams because I love playing basketball. I love basketball, and Peaceful Valley is my favorite place to play basketball. So I went with something that I really love, hoops. Tyler Seth. Has gotten me in more trouble than anyone. His deck is called Mixtape Heart, Mixtape for M&C, the first initial of his wife and his son. Sitting there next to Darty Season 2.0 and Peaceful Valley Jams.
Yep. He really hurt us there.
No, now team, I think, again, I didn't have cassettes, but I had like burnt CDs. and you had a CD for different events. Like
Absolutely.
That's what we have. I think we have. I was thinking, like, I knew you guys were going to be more fun and not sentimental. I knew that. I was like, two birds with one stone. I do a shout out to my wife and son. Win. Two, we add the theme of like mixtape love. Like, you give a girl a mixtape. Sean, I know you romantically do that for your wife to this day.
I do. Still,
so I was playing around that theme, and then you guys actually rounded out the cassettes that we have in our box, and we have the party, we have an athletic theme, and then we have the love side.
Yeah, I almost felt like I had to go with like a heartbreak theme, but it felt like it didn't belong in a family card game.
I had to tell my wife that we were only allowed to do one of the loved ones, and that's why mine didn't have her name on it. So I just lied.
Luckily, she doesn't listen to this. I know that, so we're good.
No, she doesn't. But she was why am I not on yours? I said, well, Tyler got the love tape.
He called dibs, right? He got first draft pick.
I had mine written.
I was going to make mine for
Anna with all my love, right? But Tyler took the love.
I was married first. It was a strictly numbers thing.
Right.
That's what it was.
And so the game, we have prototypes now. What was, because the feeling for me was cooler watching you guys open the cards than it was. I mean, the feeling of holding the cards and everything was amazing, but watching your guys' reaction opening the cards and like your energy levels and everything was my favorite. What was that like for you guys opening the prototype up? Tyler first, because I think people listen to Sean's podcast. He kind of talked about it.
Mine was surreal. I feel like when I opened it, I didn't believe it. Like, when I opened the box and I saw the cards and we were all there and there was the 7 prototypes, like, I was like, this is super cool and like, this is awesome. But it was literally like, kind of like Sean was saying, like, he went home and cried. Like, when everyone left after we played it, I literally sat downstairs and just like looked at the 3 boxes. I shuffled through the cards. I was just like holding them. I was taking photos that like I'd never post because Brandon takes like 1,000 times better photos, but I have like photos, and it's just like, it was this weird, surreal, like unbelievable experience to just like have this dream and actually like see it in a tangible form. Now, granted, this is the best. It's just unreal. I can't believe it.
I did the same thing. So all 3 of us did that when we got home and we were like by ourselves at that point. All 3 of us just grabbed it and just like held it and like looked at it like it was a baby. Like, all 3 of us did that exact same thing. And you held it up. Go ahead and hold it up again. So my biggest fear when we were about to open the cards was I was worried that I was going to flip it over really quick. I was worried it was going to turn out like a disaster because there's a lot to the template. And I was like, there's cut lines, there's safety lines, then there's trim lines. And I was like, am I going to get this right? And I was nervous to open up this box that we all spent a lot of money on and be like, do I owe these guys a ton of money now because I messed up the designs on their cards? But we opened it up and they looked perfect. They looked like exactly what we wanted. And it felt so good. I was like, I had like the biggest sigh of relief, like, oh, thank God I didn't mess it all up completely. Hopefully there's nothing little. And then we started going through the cards, and almost instantly Sean Widmer goes, oh, I found a mistake.
Because it's in my deck.
Yeah.
We all look through our own decks, right? So Tyler's looking through the Black deck, the Michaela album. Brandon's looking through Darty's season, and I'm looking through the Peaceful Valley Jams. So we're all looking through our deck because it's kind of cool. It's like, this is the color we chose. This is sweet. And the 11 was upside down in the corners. And I'm an avid card player. So that's the other thing. Like, Tyler and I play games all the time. We meet every Wednesday night and play games. Every Wednesday night, Tyler and I meet and play games. We're diehards.
For like 7 hours.
Yeah, we were up last night until 1:15. I think I went to bed at 1:30. Woke up at 4. And so, I mean, we love games. So when I saw a number in the upper corner of a card, it just immediately stuck out because we play so much we play with so many cards. So I felt bad too because you were so worried about the cards being wrong, and they were all so right except for one. And I thought, this is going to break Brandon's heart.
It did break my heart. I should have caught it though before we did that. And what's sad is that that's the last card that I made. The 11 was the last thing we added in. And so I made it through all these different cards, all these different colors and everything. And then I mess up on the last card I ever created.
Well, here's the other thing. Sean's playing it off like, he knew it was going to upset you. And he
he got caught up in a moment.
No one's leaned into the Cream 11 more than Sean Widmer, and I love it. I'm for it. I think this is like, those listening to the Bros knows, this is a deep cut. Like, if this game blows up, you're going to know the story behind the Cream 11, and we might even have the Cream 11 version of this game.
Yeah.
And we want you to buy it. And this is a select few, exclusive crew, the OGs.
Yep.
We might even call it the Cream 11 crew, like the original crew.
If you get a Cream 11 edition, it's going to be special because I promise you never again will that be printed.
So
never.
I do want to say this about having the game in my hand, because this is what the emotion I went through. And I don't know I don't know how we motivate this into a situation where we're not just talking personal experience and bring others in. If you're thinking about creating something, I want to let you know, do it, because when you get to an end and you follow through and you have someone like Tyler who gets you to follow through, that payoff really truly is a great feeling. Yeah. And I've created a lot of things in my life. My job every day is to create stuff, and that's all I do. And so I've created things, and it feels good when you do a good one. You know, Brandon, we do the podcast a lot. I think you and I talk a lot about, we get frustrated because it's like, I make my podcast every day and I know it's not great. Yeah. And it's like, it's just there, and my podcast isn't great. And so I get frustrated. I held this box in my hand and I said, this is great. And I know it. I confidently opened this box and held it going, this is a very successful item that the three of us made. I got to do this with people that I love, and I got to be with them and hang out with them and create something that, unlike a lot of things I do where I like it, this I know everyone likes. Like that it was a different feeling than anything else I've had before in terms of creating stuff. So I thought that was like the number one thing that resonated with me that night.
I agree 100% because when we were playing it, there was almost times that I forgot that we made it because it felt so real and it felt so like legitimate. Like we went to a store and bought a game, and it was weird to stop thinking about it and then be like, wait a minute, we made these together. Like the three of us made these cards, and to have Michaela there and Anna there and Tyler there to like solidify, yes, other people like this too. It's not just us because we had a hand in it. It was really cool.
Yep. The coolest. That's the coolest. I mean, this game looks so cool. Like you said it best, I think, on your podcast. Like, it looks like we went to Target, and got this game off the shelf and just started playing it as our crew. It's the best.
Yeah. So now what? People keep asking me, now, how do I get it? Where do I get it? What happens now?
Now Tyler's drawing out these plans. I got to do all these errands.
So this is
the point of contention tonight.
Yeah, I got to fight because here's what happened. I got an hour-long fight with Tyler, and the basis of the entire fight was this. I don't want to do the grunt work. I want to focus on the game. So let me test play it, even though we don't need to, for 5 more years while you figure out the box. Because this part sucks in the game creation. Like, making the game is really fun. This part is the part for the next couple of months where we're all going to hate the game. Yeah. The three of us, not all of us who are listening, just the three of us are going to hate the game.
Just this process that we're about to go through.
So no, trust me, there's no better part than how we've been doing it with the game, coming with the design, the logo.
You can put down the Cream 11. You can hold other cards besides that card.
Nice. One I took out of the deck.
Yeah, just anyways, so happened.
That's a top card. But the next part is we need to. One thing I really like about our crew is we're not making this game. Our intent for this game was not to make money. Like that was like the number one. We wanted to make a game that people wanted to enjoy.
Correct.
And so now the next step is finding the best company that we can align with to print and make the game in the way that we want to present it to the people. Like, it's not really about the margins. It's about, is the box, like, we love the box, but guess what? The people that make this box charge a ridiculous amount of money for this one box. So
that box is not cheap.
The box is not cheap, but it looks awesome. And we'd rather make less money and you have a sick box than go with a cheap, like, and this is no knock on Uno or Skipbo, but they just have the little box that you unfold that the cards don't even fit in nice. That's not what we're going for. So the next step is finding the company that we can align with that's going to just best support what we're trying to do with this game. And so that's the box company, the printing company for the cards. And it's kind of nickel and dime. It's research. It's getting quotes. It's the not fun part, Sean. So I'm with you. I'm not looking forward to it, but I'm excited because I know when we get it done, it's one step closer to this game being in people's hands, and that's kind of the motivation.
Yeah,
it is. And that's the thing. That was one thing someone said to me the other day. They were like, "Man, you're gonna be able. You're gonna be a millionaire." And it's like, no, we're not gonna make money off this game. Like, and every time I promote it, I'm not like promoting it to say like, buy this game because it's gonna make me rich. We made this game, like Tyler and I started making this game because we love games. And like I said, have game nights a lot. We just wanted to add something to people's game nights because so many people have added stuff to our game nights who have created games. This is like our game to give back to that game community of like, look, here's one more thing to make your family or your group get together a little more fun, period. And that's what it was made for.
Exactly. That's my dream. My dream, no amount of money could replace this. My dream is to meet someone new, completely new. Maybe it's the future of a friendship. Be invited to their house for dinner and look on their shelf, on their bookshelf, and see the game and not have them know that I helped make it, but they bought it on their own because they thought this game was cool, not knowing it was affiliated with me. Like that's like, yeah.
So
that's
I kind of get that feeling with the game day photo. So there's a photo I took that went kind of viral. No. So it kind of went viral.
Patterson original. Yeah, the David Patterson original.
It went a little viral, and I gave it to people to print for free, but nobody knows who took it.
A little viral. Do you want to tell Tyler? Tyler doesn't know about the thing that he would love because you haven't told him yet. But the thing that you just told me the other day, T is gonna love because they're doing what with it?
It's being turned into a puzzle.
Oh my!
Tyler and I love puzzles.
And so but anytime so if people see it in a friend's house, or if people see it out and about, or if it's in a restaurant, or if it's in the luxury suites at Martin Stadium, people send me pictures of those things, and it never stops being amazing every time. To be like, oh, I did that. It's in their house for them to enjoy it. I can already tell that the feeling that this is going to give me for that is going to be so much better than the photo, because just watching my family play it and my friends play it, and Miles texting me that he played it at work with kids or whatever it may be.
Yeah, huge.
Every time it makes me so happy and so excited. So that's my end goal too, is to how many hands can we get this game in?
Yep. And that photo is unbelievable, by the way.
That's a great picture. Yeah, that's a great picture. You just had a Gonzaga Bulldog compliment your WSU picture. Is that
that's
legal?
A big thing. I don't know if that's allowed. We might have to bleep that out of here. But I asked
awesome picture.
I asked the question about what's next for us because I think that's what people want to know. They want to know where could they get it, how can they get it. But we're a ways away from that is the reality, and we don't know how it's going to be distributed or how we're going to sell it or anything.
Can I bring up something right now? And I don't know Tyler's opinion on this, so this is going to be a funny in the podcast. Me stirring the pot.
Yeah. This is a meeting. Now we're meeting again.
Yep.
My future with the game is to keep this, playing it and trying it, and then we work on getting, the packaging and all that with my smaller group. Meanwhile, Pecos Bill over there, or Davy Crockett, or whatever Wild West person you want to throw in there, is like, here, I'm going to get this game out to half the community. My name is Brandon Rose, and everyone has Eject now. And every time he tells me like 50 new people have played it, I'm like, it's not right yet. It's not right yet. And so I get worried. So T, I don't know. You're the tiebreaker here.
So here's my thoughts. I love where you're both coming from. I love that you want the game to be its best version, and I love that Brandon is sharing it with everyone that he knows. I think that's a win.
Tiebreaker.
I think it's a win-win. I love both sides, and that's why our group is so great, because it's great having Brandon because he's not as intensive a gamer as us, and so it gives us a different perspective. So Sean, maybe we're missing out on not getting it into people's hands and just doing it like by trial by fire, where we want the game to be like its end product before anyone even touches a Cream 11, if you will.
Exactly. And I say all that to say, and I bring all that up to circle back around to your question, is because the next step for me is to get this finalized so that my friends and family can play it, because I'm excited because I know they're going to like it, and I'm excited to add to their repertoire. So the next step for me is to try to work as hard as we can to get the packaging right for this and the card printing right for this and figure out all the legalities that we don't know. I mean, we're learning about, right? We're learning about making a game. This is being done while we do this, which has been kind of fun and exciting. But to try to maneuver this as fast as possible so that we can get it into people's hands and they can play it and text us and say that it was better when the Cream 11 was upside down.
I also, yeah, this is just awesome. The one thing that they could do now if they're listening, if you're a listener, is just follow Instagram. One thing I've read about people that are creating games is just kind of building the buzz. It's like a slow excitement. But I think if you guys could follow us, and then I think Brandon actually brought this up, and I think it's kind of a cool idea where we do a sell the game to like the diehards, like our inner circle, and let them buy it at like whatever cost. So it's just like it's straight like
right.
exchange.
Just so we're not losing money.
Correct. So we're not going to give them at a discount, but it's the people that want to support us and they could get the game, and it's just a natural. They can play it. They can once it's finalized. Sean, I'm not saying this is tomorrow, but yeah.
I want to pitch something right now.
I want to go 500 miles per hour. So
okay, let's go 500. You ready to go 500 miles per hour right here?
Yeah.
You ready?
Yeah.
I promise you this: we will sell a couple copies if Gonzaga wins the national championship.
Ooh, red, white, and blue editions.
I don't know what it will be, but we will get a couple copies out because I don't think our excitement. And the reason I say this is Tyler and I are going to be so excited about the national championship. Brandon is going to print games and sell them, and we're going to be like, yeah, do it. Do whatever you want. Do whatever you want. Yeah, screw the slow motion. We're so excited. And Brandon's going to have sold a bunch of copies. So you'll probably be able to buy it right after GU wins the championship.
Yep.
Yeah, and name, image, and likeness isn't a thing yet in the NCAA, so we could really capitalize on it, like Timmy Time mixtape or a few jams 21.
Jalen for 40.
I'm excited. I'm excited for what the next couple of months. I'm excited to get this ball rolling. It's just it sucks because I want it out right now, but it is such a hard process. This portion of making a product, you don't realize it, and then you kind of see. I watched Shark Tank the other night, and I watched it so differently because I was like, "Oh, this is the part that sucks." Like they may have had this product for a long time, and now it's trying to get it to a point where they can get it out there. And they had to get on a TV show even to get to that. That part's scary and it sucks.
Yeah, and that's where we're at.
And team, if the listeners, the Bros Knows fans, if you play this game with Brandon or something doesn't make sense, please share it with him. Mm-hmm. Tweet us, put it on Instagram. Like we have no egos. We want this game to be the best for the people that are listening. Like you guys are kind of our target group. So please let us know, and that way we can make it better. Because then the end game is to make the best game for something that we would love to do, which is drink a little, play some Eject, and get a ton of laughs, especially with the Cream 11. I mean,
doing stuff with friends.
Heck yeah,
do stuff with friends.
Is there anything to this point of the story that I just completely lost over, anything like that, of the Eject story?
No, man, I don't think so. I think that's
besides Sean just trying to randomly print. He's saying I'm going too fast. This dude's trying to print cards off his printer and next to him every time.
Okay, so that's actually a good point. That's actually a pivotal moment, is the moment that Brandon created the first run of cards, and he's sharing it on his screen. He's sharing it. We're on Discord. He's sharing it. He's going, "This is what I did. These are the cards."
They were bad, by the way. They were bad, everyone.
No, they were great. They we
didn't like them. It inspired us to get to where we ended, but we've come a long way from version 1.0 of the cards for sure.
Correct, but without that, we wouldn't have gotten where we're at. So we needed those. But Sean, this is hilarious. Sean goes, I don't know what they look like. It's like they're on the screen. He goes, I need to print them. I have a printer now, color printer. He prints them, and they're not to scale. Not
even close.
But they're miniature, and he's holding this 8.5 by 11 piece of paper and goes, "Oh, these look good." And Brandon are like, "They look the exact same, except they're on paper." And that's when we knew. That's when we knew it was a good product right there.
Yeah, I had to print. I still have that paper somewhere, and it's the one where you printed. And I didn't do full screen. I kept it with like the date on top and the time of printing. It's like I printed it as if I was a grandfather, and so those will live in infamy as the original run of cards that were printed for the game.
Man, I love it. This has been the best project, the most fun thing I've done. So I thank you guys so much. We'll keep this. We'll come on here when we do hot take episodes. Hey, what?
Don't let this game. This game is the best project we've worked on.
Yes.
But if you use this game ever as an excuse to stop recording Bros Knows, then Tyler and I, then you're out. You're out of the company.
In the bylaws.
Is that part of our operating agreement?
I don't think you know how much Tyler and I love the podcast.
Yeah. If the Bros Knows podcast isn't going, that'll upset me and depress me, and that'll impact the game, and then it'll be just a negative trajectory.
So
Bros Knows is in a good spot.
You never get a say. By the way, Inlander voting for Best of is coming up. Bros Knows is going to win Podcast of the Year, and we're going to make it happen. That's going to happen. Yeah, we're going to make it happen. So... yeah, it's just one of those things. I don't want you to use us as an excuse. Like, well, I've got this other project. You better keep doing the podcast because it fuels me in my morning.
All right.
I'm already kind of ticked. You cut down to 3 times a week.
Well, 7 was a lot.
It was.
I support the 3.
Don't cut it down anymore. Is what I'm saying.
I won't.
And if you do, it needs to be like 3 hours, so I can
just full commute for the whole week style.
So I could either binge it, and listen to all of it, or I could separate it out.
Okay, deal.
Okay, well, can I do a hot take to end it?
Yes.
I guess I just need to know this. Why is Philip Petrusev undervalued as a Gonzaga Bull?
By the Eagle Ridge neighborhood only.
I just want to know for real, is he under? No, I think it's out there in the Gonzaga populace. So is it because he left early that he's left a tainted mark on his name, or not? Because he was WCC Player of the Year last year. So T, you are a basketball guy. You were the team manager for the Zags. You're more in tune with this team than anyone that I know, like in terms of the program, not necessarily this team, but the program. Can you fill me in on why Philip Petrusev is what he is?
Yeah, I have a question. For both of you.
Okay.
Do you think this team this year is better or worse with Philip Petrusev?
Worse. I was talking about that yesterday.
I do think better. I do think better.
This
is my faith. This is my faith. No, Tyler, this is the hard part, and I'm sorry to do this way. This is my faith in the coaches. I have faith in the coaches on this one, because I do think if you just threw those guys out with Philip, it doesn't work. If they just go to play pickup, it doesn't work. But this is faith in coaches to be like, everyone get your heads on straight. It's different than it was the year before. Philip, do what you need to do. Drew, do what you need to do. And Ballo and Drew Ben Gregg, or whatever his name is, who played tonight, you're not playing.
So you're thinking from a minute standpoint, and I get that. But
Anton, even though you suddenly have gotten super strength in the last 3 weeks, where I don't know how that happened, but suddenly he looks like he's a bodybuilder. But he gets less minutes. I think the Timmy Petrushev combo is better for sure. But
here's the part you're missing, and the game today kind of highlighted it.
Okay.
This team is so bought into team. You don't see that anymore. You don't see a group of players that just want to share the rock to help the other person. I mean, our best player, Jalen Suggs, is only averaging, I think, 14 points or 12 points in league. If he was at another school, he's at 25, 30 easily, getting all these shots up. And I think the reason people didn't like Philip, or he's not one of their favorites, is because I just think the whole time he didn't really feel like he was bought in to the team component. He's skilled individually, and he could get buckets. He was a little soft last year too, but I just think his whole persona and how he approached it wasn't like how we like to say that, like a Zag. I think like you get a Timmy who's like all in. The bench guys get a bucket, and Timmy's like doing his stash celebration for the guy that just scored on the bench. Philip's not standing up. He's like, how do I get my contract in the NBA next year? So I think that's why people sour on him.
I'm sorry, Brandon, we're doing this to you.
No, you're good. Go ahead. No, we're good.
Every time I speak about Drew Timme, all people hear me say is that he's terrible. He's so good. He's so good. But he's a great college basketball player, which is why he celebrates to the sideline and all that. He's not an NBA guy. He's not. Philip is because he can extend it. He can shoot it real well. He has NBA style. he's more of an NBA type than Drew Timme is. So I understand why he would want to be less oriented to the team, because he actually has value next year to an NBA. Timme is not there yet, on his way there.
So do you
I do think
Can I
there's
ask
a
one
difference
question?
there in that. Yeah.
So CJ McCollum, why do we not like? Why is CJ McCollum not high on your list?
He's my favorite Blazer.
I thought he wasn't. I thought you didn't like
Well,
it
he
because
was. He
can't
wasn't.
play
But
with.
I also changed my favorite every 5 days. He was like so good this season.
But you struggled with him. You struggled with him
hated him
last year
forever.
because you thought him and Lillard couldn't play well together.
He took away from Dame.
I think that's the Petrusev effect. I think that people think he wouldn't play well with this team. He wouldn't fit in well with this team. And they're good enough without it.
Here's my other thing. I also have big time faith in Jalen, and I think Jalen would make Phillip a beast.
Yeah,
I think Jalen would drop dimes to Phillip.
But he's doing that to everybody.
I think Phillip would get 28 a game just off of Jalen's passing.
How many Ohio State quarterback references were there today on Twitter? He is doing just fine without.
How many people still listen to broadcasters? I haven't had my volume on my TV this entire season. I haven't listened to one game, and all I hear is about people broadcasting. I didn't know people still listen to broadcasts.
I like listening to radio. Huddy.
Me too. I like the radio. I did not know.
How do you get it in sync? How do you get it in sync enough though? That would drive me crazy.
Stuff. But hey, I think with Phillip, when I think the Zags aren't a fan of him, is because I think he was just about him getting to the league from the get-go. And that's fine. Like, that's no fault. Yeah. Like, I get it. You're 7 feet tall. You have you're skilled. That's your prerogative, but you probably shouldn't have picked GU, because unfortunately that's not our whole philosophy, is just to help people go to the league. It's like to help win, make you a better person, and then naturally you'll go to the league, aka Sabonis, aka you got snubbed by the All-Star committee. I just think it's more of a natural, and he was more of a selfish approach.
I want to give you, and it's so different. There's some similarity, but it's different. Zach Collins. To me, he was Zach Collins, because Zach Collins don't Zag fans, don't come fill me the Zach Collins was this super Zag bought in. No, he wasn't. I got to talk to Zach Collins many times during media days. Zach Collins was ready to be in the NBA. He is NBA. Day one NBA.
And he left as soon as he could.
He left as soon as he could.
But he had Nigel.
And they went to a national championship with Zach Collins.
Petrusev didn't have Nigel.
Jalen, you're saying Jalen isn't as good as Nigel?
No, Nigel was a third year. No. I'm not saying talent wise. No. Please. Because
I love Nigel. I love Nigel.
I'm saying Nigel Williams-Goss, when we got him, the reason we were so good defensively is because we had a leader that was a stud, that was our best player, that also valued defense and teamwork, and he kind of drove that whole thing. Collins had no other option. If Collins would have tried to gone Petrusev on us, he wouldn't have got burned. Like, Nigel would have been like, hey, Fewy, like, he's coming off the bench and I don't like him out there a lot. I'd rather have Shem Daddy.
Okay,
so I think
I like that.
Petrusev didn't have that leader. He was kind of the top dog, and so it was kind of like that. He kind of reflected our, because we had Gino coming in, like we had like Woolridge. We had Woolridge, who was like a transfer, like new to the program. Petrusev was like our longest. Yeah, it wasn't the type of vibe. I think if Collins would have been last year, people might have soured a little bit, because he would have tried to get his numbers, and you might have seen that selfish.
They're just so good. Again, this is why I ask you, because you bring good insight. You always do. You're my cream 11.
The Bros Knows podcast. Please tweet Brandon if you're upset with our Gonzaga take. Thank you for listening.
They won't be. Yeah, thanks for listening, everybody.
You're so smart.
Look out for Eject to come to you in early April, because as soon as the Zags win, I'm allowed to sell some. So early April, Eject's coming your way.